can I just say that it was, I saw on video yesterday at one of the bookstores that you put at. There was a drum line that brought you into the bookstore.
Yes, in Mercer Island, Washington, my hometown. High school marching band brought me into the bookstore.
So sweet.
$30 a piece. It was great. It was very loud, and the moderator, so far, even you have said now more than the moderator did yesterday. He was terrified. He was really scared.
Of the drum line?
Well, his first question was, so you like these Joe Abercrombie books, huh? And I was like, yeah. And that was it. And then I started talking, and he walked away. It was, do you guys read Joe Abercrombie books? It's great. He's one of my favorites.
What's your favorite title?
There Will Be Blood.
Right.
No, that was the movie.
That was a movie.
The Blade itself.
Okay. So Joel's recommendation, The Blade Itself.
I really do recommend that. Okay. So action. Good.
Yeah, let's do it.
First question, Frank.
My first question, Joel, is you have a book. You've written it. You wrote it with some other people.
Yeah.
And will you talk a little bit about that process? Like, did you have a dictaphone? How did that work?
Well, no, because it's not 1987. But
still.
I am very distractible, as you probably know. I can't really sit still for very long or in a chair. And so I needed people to tell me to do things, and because the book company paid us in advance, and if we didn't get book pages in time, then they would take away the money, which would be the worst thing that's ever happened to me. So, and so I do need help when I have a deadline on something and to stay focused. So much like Edgar Allan Poe, that's right.
That's right.
I'm comparing myself directly with Edgar Allan Poe.
Telltale.
He would lock himself in a closet, or his employees would lock him in a closet and say, he said, no matter how many times I fire you or insult you, I have to slide pages under the door before you can let me out. And so that's kind of how this works. So Boyd and Brad, they're here. Boyd Weichel and Brad Stevens. They're also writers and producers on The Great Indoors, CBS, 8:30 out of the Big Bang. Next few episodes, you're gonna love them. And they also wrote the White House Correspondents' Dinner with me, and which I did, thanks for mentioning. And then you can bring that up. And any sort of other speeches I write, I need them around because they can go, that is not funny. So so that's how the process works. So I would, as we started making the book, I would write and then stop, and then one of them would jam my head down on the keyboard and say, keep writing, dummy. And so that's kind of how it went, and that's taken 11 years. 11 years? No, it took a year. It took a year. That's okay. About 1 year ago is when we pitched the book to bookmakers or publishers, and so it's almost, it's about 11 and a half months since we pitched the book. And we noticed every time we would turn the pages in pretty much on time, the publisher was shocked. They were like, oh, you did it. Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then we should, next time if we do it, we can really slack off and take years and not give the money back.
And that's more going to be your modeling story though, right?
Yes.
The years-long story.
Yeah, no, it will be a book about that. Amy Poehler's book, she, throughout the book, is complaining about how hard it is to write a book, which we should have put more of that. Yeah. So now here we are. Nice. And did you guys come up together the way that the memoir was written? My thing with celebrity memoirs is that most of them are boring and are not necessary. So they should be written. So I feel like that book about the guy in World War II, nice mic system. Really, I am here. No, but that guy has a life story that is worth telling.
Right.
But I don't. But so most celebrities are just as boring as everyone is, and they don't really have a life story that can, for at least me. So I knew I couldn't tell just a memoir of my life, and so we decided that would be half of it, and then why not make fun of it by making it a self-help book? Because sometimes when people type in Joel, always the first name is Osteen. And so if I could dovetail off of some of that, super successful.
That's just smart marketing.
Yeah,
Just smart marketing.
Don't worry, everything's going to be great. Make money, and God loves you.
Right.
So we're going to do that probably on the next. So that's why I feel like that my memoir is by far the most honest of all time. And I also I think it's ridiculous when celebrities say that they can just give life advice to people about anything. I mean, we put on makeup and pretend to be other people and then complain about the free food and the trailers they give us. So who are we to tell people, like, this is how you make it? So, yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, I have a question about that, actually. You now are a famous person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just thought I'd point that out. And
you can see by the throngs of people.
This is exactly the size of a throng. This is minimum size throng.
This is definitely a Portland area throng.
It's a throng.
Yeah.
I would say it's a throbbing throng.
This would definitely, if we all stood on one of your bridges, it would collapse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not earthquake proof. Because that doesn't happen in the Northwest. You know? So in the time that you've gained some celebrity, what are there things that you notice that you just take for granted now that all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I just get that thing now? Like, are there little things?
Yeah, like nothing I'm wearing have I paid for, which is great. Which is why when I go to the Nike store, I don't want to pay for anything. It is a weird, it is, as soon as you're able to afford a screaming toddler, as soon as you're able to afford the things, someone's being murdered.
That's just in time for the Halloween stories after this.
I can't believe I'm in this mall. It's a weird thing where once you were able to afford things, people want to give you things.
Right.
And I am at I'm like at a B- or a C+ as far as celebrity, but if you're George Clooney, they just hand you anything you want. It's very strange, and I get offers of, like, one point they were like, we'd like to send you a cooler with 20 pounds of bacon in it. And I would never turn that down, and so I got a cooler with bacon in it. And then I was sent, they were like, Bud Light would like to send you a briefcase. And I went, of course, this is how I get my shitty light beer. And they sent me a very nice attaché case with 4 Bud Lights in it. I don't know why. 4? Yes, they were very well. People are constantly offering me razors and vodkas, and it's great. So
it's a fun party.
I've been offered a barbecue. I'm trying to get a piano right now. The book teaches you how to become a celebrity, and you will get free stuff like this. I'm not kidding.
Careful my face.
It's fine.
Close. Close.
But I will teach you how to become a celebrity and get free stuff. Like, you can walk into this house. Like, right now, I can just walk out with anything I want. So if you guys want to pick stuff out, I'll just bless it. Throw it at that screaming kid.
No,
Don't throw it.
It's nice. I didn't know that you could bless things though. Now is that part of celebrity too?
Celebrity, yes. I mean, that's one of the chapters when I said why I left Scientology.
Right.
Which is again, I never did. But if you're a celebrity, you have to have a story about leaving a cult. So it will teach you how to do that.
Everyone in LA has a Scientology story, whether you've been in it or not.
Yes.
It's so crazy. Every single person.
They do.
It's true.
Yeah. Is there any here tonight? There's one Scientologist right here. Kidding. Yeah. All right. Oh, hi. Hi. Got that girl. So that's if you want to learn how to leave a cult, then you're in great business.
Yeah. It's the closing chapter. It's the final way. It's the final message that you leave people with is how to leave a cult. So you were born in Rome, Italy.
That is true.
Good. All right, moving on.
No, thank you. I was born in another country, which is awesome, and it's a great way to lord that over people.
Yeah. Do you feel slightly better?
I am. I was literally baptized in St. Peter's.
Right.
Literally.
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 No, that's how they say it here, which is incorrect.
Okay.
And I was born there, and there's pictures of it of us in Rome, which is I always felt more worldly
Yeah.
No, I don't speak the language.
Was the hospital beautiful? Like, was it a
Yes, I totally
hospital?
remember it. And the nurses were beautiful, ashing onto my infant body.
Essentially, was there a cloud below your bed when you were born?
Yes, and there was a lot of red wine. That's what I drank as a child. Then, of course, my parents moved to the exotic city of Seattle.
Right.
Which, at that point, was barely had electricity in the 70s. Because Boeing had said, like, this sucks, we're leaving. And but then everything turned around.
Did you ever have a moment when you were growing up, like, you know, I can't run for president because I was born in Rome?
Yeah, but I thought I should start a secret presidency where I could rule the world like the Illuminati.
Something like a kingship.
I think I can run. I think there's a special rule.
For Rome?
Yeah, I mean, if Barack Obama
Is there a pope
being
pipeline?
president, I surely can.
I know. I mean.
No, yeah, I guess I can't, but it's okay. I learned pretty early on that I was destined to host a basic cable clip show on a lower tier cable network.
You were.
Yeah. That's what I call it. I call it the network.
Exclamation point.
Yeah, now it's just a period.
You were a really good host on that. Great host on that.
No, it was time for the show.
But you had a good run.
We had a good run, and then finally the power of the Kardashians took over the entire network. Swallowed the whole thing. And it's now just
Do you guys need to let out some Kardashian anger?
Yeah, I think I don't know if people care. They made $1 billion now, and they're like, oh, we don't need anyone anymore.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's only that now. Towards the end, E asked if I would stop making fun of the Kardashians, and then I realized that war was about to be. I was like, but I've been making fun of them for 12 years, and they were like, yeah, can you stop? I'm like, no. Well, we're gonna probably stop the show. And I was like, I have to really put my foot down here. But really? No. But they asked, and I was like, no, we have to. And they went, okay, we'll see. You won't be here very long. No, it was time. Because they put us on Wednesdays, which is exactly when you want your weekly wrap-up show. Midweek.
Sure. It's a good time. Hump day.
It was bad, yeah.
And what was, we went from, on Community, you went to Yahoo.
Yes, after NBC canceled us, Yahoo bought us, and then we literally put Yahoo out of business. Which Yahoo kind of blamed us for, because the woman who brought us in left, and they were mad at her and said, this Community and this Paul Feig show brought down our streaming service. And I thought, that's right, son of a bitch, I can do anything I want. That's how powerful I am. And so yes, it was a very short-lived streaming service, and Yahoo was in big trouble, and they thought that they could, I don't know what they thought, that they thought they were going to make money back immediately.
That's how powerful you are.
They should close the garage doors, and I'll make it work better. But they thought it would work, and then we loved making that season, because it was one of our favorite seasons of all time. But and I do think there will eventually be a movie when Dan writes it. I think there's $2 million.
That's like a quick Kickstarter. We just need 5 people to donate $2 million.
But I think Dan has already put it out there that he wants to make it as big as the Pirates of the Caribbean. So that's like $250 million.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of cash.
I don't know how that will work, but we are all the cast members are on board.
Where do you think you would shoot that? Would you shoot it in the United States or
now that Donald is Lando Calrissian, he's going to be busy for a while. Yeah, he's literally. I could have believed that. I was like, because of childhood memories of Lando Calrissian, I was like, I cannot believe this is amazing. And he's very excited. I would be too. I want to play the General Akbar's son. Two huge eyes. Remember that part? Yeah, that's right.
All right. All right. So in your book, you go on to talk about how you imagine your parents having sex to birth you.
There are children here. Just make sure they're...
Listen, I'm an educator.
Kids, there's a tiny kid that won't understand. All right, yes, that's right.
And there you have shown some pictures.
Yes. So I decided that because my brothers and I are very different.
So different.
So different. One's an electrician, one's an Episcopal priest, and I'm, of course, an actor. And so we decided that the only way that us being so different happened was by us being conceived in very different positions. And I really don't want to talk about it.
And you guys really...
There's literally like a
so
Halloween story thing. Yes.
It's detailed.
We took this one photo of my parents at a bridal shower for my mom, and we just cut their photos, faces out, and put them on these drawings of people copulating. Yes, so my brother, being an electrician, he was conceived in the jackhammer position. The priest, of course, missionary, and
nice touch.
Yeah. And me, being an actor, the most ostentatious would be the reverse.
I'm not quite sure how you arrived at that position for actor, but...
Just, it's the most kind of over the top, you know, it's the most kind
Literally.
of... Yes, so, literally. And, yeah, so that's... We should keep that quiet. My parents, though...
Will there be a poster of that we can get?
A poster?
A poster with positions?
No, there's a video. And, and my parents learned about it this week. So,
how did they take that?
My wife had told them, but then my little brother was like, I didn't know about it.
Oh, nice scapegoating. Oh, I thought
So
my wife
I
had
couldn't tell
told.
what the truth was. But my mom was like, I'm afraid to read the book. And I was like, well, my mom and dad haven't paid for a meal in 12 years if I'm there. So I was like, you're lucky. I'm great. I was like, it'll be fine. And I think they are kind of secretly complimented.
Secretly.
I don't think they're going to come out saying, thank you. This is exactly what we used to do.
But you know at parties, that's the page they bring out.
My dad literally signed that page yesterday at a book signing in Seattle.
He did?
Yes, he signed that page.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the reality.
That's something.
It was hard for me to look at that page, so it's not something I want to imagine very much. I mean, other than when I put it in print and put my name on it.
Was it weird to see him so near that page?
Near it?
Yeah, like
It was weird to see them in the same room looking at it.
That's about right.
Yeah, sorry. So sorry. Young people here.
I'm the one that brought it up. You can blame it on me.
No, I think it's good to bring up. It's provocative.
It is. It's provocative and provocative.
Yes.
So you had a cat named Ashley.
I did. Yes.
That had chronic halitosis.
Yes, it was. So there's a whole chapter on my father who is frugal to a point of being handicapped by it, and he's a little bit better now since I pay for everything. No, but he's better now. But yes, we had this cat named Ashley, and it had terrible breath. And so, we all went to the vet together, and my dad asked how much it was to clean the cat's teeth, and it was like $30. And then my dad, of course, the next question was how much to put it to sleep. So, which was $15. And so, my dad had a pretty big decision ahead of him. And the decision was do nothing. And so he didn't spend a dime. But that's my dad right there. He would rather have something die than pay more to have it clean.
I like how you're worried about the sex section with children, but not the killing a cat section.
Well, it's America. We're okay with violence. It's fine. We're good with it.
Bad breath is a problem. People have bad breath. I just want to...
But should they die?
No. I mean, have you been around some people?
There are some.
You want to die.
But then you can walk away without. I mean, yes, if you're a dictator, you could probably have people put to death if their breath is really bad.
What if that's happened?
I'm sure it has.
Like off with your head started with bad?
I'm sure Stalin or Mao definitely were like, ugh, that guy. Now he really smells. So.
And there's an interesting history of ladders in your family too, of you falling, both your dad and you falling off ladders, right?
Yes, I've had a lot of concussions, and they were chronicled. I fell through a ladder in preschool, pushed there by a man named Joel Plattenbach.
Your rival Joel.
He was a rival Joel, he was my doppelganger. And he pushed me through, and I landed on my head, and it being the 70s, what do? Nothing. And I sat in, and when the preschool teacher saw that I was kind of out of it and catatonic, she said, all right, just lie in these bean bags and don't fall asleep. Don't go unconscious like I was. And my mom showed up, and I proceeded to be very ill for a number of days. Yes, there was no concussion protocol. And now they would call an ambulance to a preschool, but back then it was just like, oh, don't forget your lunchbox. And my father, yes, in saving money, he fell out of a tree while trimming it at the age of 68. So, yes, so he's, again, the McHales are suicidal people trying in their lives all the time.
So you chronicle like 5 or 6 concussions, right?
Yes.
In the book? That's a lot of concussions.
Yeah, and then I played, and I didn't get any of them playing football, which people were like, oh, ironic. Yeah, I have hit my head many times, and as Boyd and Brad will tell you, I will bring up things that were like, you told us this an hour ago, and they get real scared. And I was like, no, that's just from drinking. Don't think that's a head injury. That's fatigue.
So in the nature of the self-helpness of your book, like, do you think that
not hitting your head?
Or do you think hitting your head is a good idea?
I think 1 concussion per person.
You think that's good? Like everybody should strive for 1 good concussion, 1 humility maybe?
You should definitely try to avoid smashing your head into something. After 7 of them, I realized that. And a skull fracture. That was skiing at Crystal Mountain in Washington.
I also had a concussion at Crystal Mountain in Washington.
See?
Just FYI.
Did we ram our heads into each other?
Probably.
Yeah. What was yours?
When I was like 12, I got accidentally skied onto a race course.
Oh.
And then once you're on a race course, you have to do it because it's real rutted. So like then you're just like, I'm going on a race course.
You didn't try to stop at any point?
No, I just froze. I just had some kind of weird race course freeze.
Did you think for a moment you're like in a Disney film where like, I'm gonna win this?
I did.
You're like, I'm gonna win this and I'm gonna save the lodge.
I felt like a beat-up bug on a race course all of a sudden. Woo! You're gonna win this. Hey, again.
How did you win?
I just woke up with a spray of blood in front of my face, like a Jackson Pollock. It was really cool.
Wow, that's bad.
That's why I'm not going to write a memoir, because mine is bloody. So I could never wrap my mind around your UW lying to get into football story.
Yes, I lied to get on the Husky football team, everyone. I know you guys are big USC fans.
Yes.
Yeah, it's weird how the Ducks aren't so dominant this year. I'm sorry. The Huskies have taken that baton and beat up on it. It's so weird that the Huskies are finally good again. Seattle's like, what is happening? It should stop. Yes, I lied to get onto the team because I only played freshman year of high school football, and why would I lie to get on? Why would I go do this?
Talk us through what you were like as a freshman in college. Like, what was like a day like?
Yeah. I was recruited to row for the University of Washington, which I hated because the crew team, I learned that they have a lot of hazing rituals, and I was not good at following those rules. When you have a sport that no one watches, which is crew, they make up rituals and different sort of hazing stuff to make it seem like we're important. And so they would make you shave your eyebrows off and your hair off, and they put all that hair into a pillow. And then it is joined into a large group of hair pillows that are behind glass. Yes, much like a serial killer.
Did you just say hair pillow?
Hair pillow. They are still there.
The hair pillows are still there?
They go back to the 50s. Yeah, it's disgusting. So on top of that, you have to push in chairs correctly. You have to do all these things, and I hated it so much. And So I didn't push in a chair properly, and the seniors, or the varsity crew team surrounded me, and we got into a big fight. It was 2 against 11. I did not do very well. And so yes, it's kind of strangely sad and serious. But then, so I had to kind of quit that. I complained to the coach, and he did nothing. So he was like, well, see you tomorrow. And so then I joined the football team because I was in a fraternity for 2 months, and they were all in the football team. I was like, I think I'll do that. That seems like a good idea. This sport I don't know how to play. And so that was 2 years after that. Yeah, it was not smart. So I played badly for 2 years as a Husky, and it was great because the defense thought whenever they tackled me, felt great. I would just cry and poop and pee. Oh, you're so good at this. This really hurts. And I would just run off and play skill training. So yeah, that was freshman sophomore year. Yeah, I was not necessarily smart.
But you did play.
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah, I showed the defense the other team.
And you looked entirely different during that time. Like you had a really thick neck and stuff, like a football neck.
Yeah, Barb knew me back then. Yeah, I had a football neck. And I had one eye in the center of my forehead.
Just put one eye in the center, which seems like it would be advantageous
yeah,
as a
and
football
I could
player.
eat like rats whole. They hatched my lower jaw and I was swallowed. It was crazy.
Wow, you were even more different than I
Like
thought.
a snake.
Did you also wear like a long cape around campus?
Yeah, it wasn't a cape.
What was it?
Well, it was more of like a hood. A long hood. Yeah, it was cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
You made it cool, is
Yeah.
what happened.
And I would wear a helmet everywhere.
So you have a long improv background and long in the annals of your history.
Yes, I started out doing improvising in Seattle, and that's where I met you.
Yes.
And many of my friends, but that's how I got started.
Did you see the movie Don't Think Twice?
I did. Did any of you see Don't Think Twice?
Did you see it?
4 people did.
4 people saw it, so let's keep going on that.
It's a movie about improv in Seattle, in New York.
Oh.
Yeah, even the mic doesn't want to hear about it.
Even the mic fell asleep.
Cut it
Oh,
out.
see.
Cut it out, guys. Stop talking about it.
Stop talking about it.
But it was very good, and it
Yeah.
captured a lot of that feeling back then.
Improv has become big again. Like it's so crazy how big it is.
It is
everywhere now.
Is it big in Portland?
It's bigger here now than when I moved here for sure, but it's huge in New York, like
Yeah.
UCB and all that stuff. Do you feel like your improv background has contributed to the stuff that you're doing?
Definitely. When I couldn't get an agent and I was only going to commercial auditions, I would improvise a lot in those auditions because the copy written by the ad agency was usually pretty awful. It was like 20 people writing it, so it always was something not great. And so if you improvise something in the audition, either you got the role, or a number of times I didn't get the role, but then I'd see the commercial and they used the line that I had come up with in the audition, which made me feel great.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh great, I wasn't paid for that. And they go with someone much better looking, and that was pretty smart. Yeah,
So
that Swifter now sells itself.
Yeah. And then you got to kind of do this cool thing with stand-up where you got notoriety in your TV shows. And then you jumped past having to do like a lot of club work to doing big
yes,
shows.
I did start doing stand-up after I got the suit. I still did some of it a little bit beforehand, but yes, I didn't have to do that thing where I would show up to a bar as much and have people yell at me and they were drunk and sweat. Well, there were some of those people, but a lot of them already had seen the suit, so I kind of got this weird pass.
Right.
So when I would do stand-up for people that didn't know what the suit was, I would always bomb. And then so I'd be like, I should probably learn how to do. So after doing it like 3,000 times, it better be better. Because I'll be here next Saturday at the Spirit Casino, everyone.
Spirit Mountain Casino.
Have you guys been to Spirit Mountain Casino? Yeah. How is it? It's the armpit of
It's the armpit of casinos.
You just live in different, you know about all them stuff.
Yeah, so it's warm and moist.
Oh, very.
Kind of a little snaky.
There you go. That sounds fun.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. All right.
And everyone's
Are you guys going to that next week? 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be the greatest show you will ever see. It's like Hamilton.
It's like Hamilton.
It is. It's very
So
well
much like
choreographed.
it.
It's like it costs millions to put it up.
And you wore that nice costume.
Yes. Oh yeah, I look great.
Yeah, it's that hooded cloak you wore.
It's an entire. I sing the whole act.
so we can get the CD in.
When is Hamilton coming here?
Next year?
2 years.
2 years from now?
Yeah.
Not 2017?
I already saw it, so. It sucked.
It did suck.
It was really good. I was kidding. I was in New York doing stand-up, and I did start the show, and I was like, "Good evening, Hamilton sucks," and they went crazy. And I haven't seen it before. How long have we been talking?
I don't know. It seems like a while.
We should. Oh, we
Let's
should.
do some Q&A. Let's hear from you all.
Questions.
Yeah. Oh my God. So he raised his hand.
Sir, with the 2 fingers.
Let's see. How does your different mediums help each other? Like going from stand-up, improv, to television, to you own your own baby, right? How do those help
They all go together? Well, they all pay me money, which I really like. How do they go together? I think, well, now with the new show, The Great Indoors, on CBS at 8:30 after the Big Bang Theory, Thursdays. I started out in improv doing that, and then the soup kind of was a long, late-night monologue, and I'd always just wanted to be an actor. So then on Community, and we would do some improvising, but Dan was always very kind of strict to the script, because the scripts were so good. So I didn't do as much there, but I did start doing, I was doing tons of stand-up, and for me, stand-up, performing in front of an audience, I feel like is a like keeps me alive, and I love it, and I love being on stage, or I would just be at home quietly sipping bourbon, watching Netflix. So, which is great, it's fun, but you should try to do, so I feel like it's almost like exercising and working out, and so I love that part of it. So with The Great Indoors, because it is very collaborative, and we have a studio audience, we will see what jokes bomb or not. And it's very weird, because we all, we'll think, oh, this joke is going to be great, and then it bombs, and so that is very helpful. And it it could be an actor error, but it also could be because it just wasn't the thing for that moment. So we do a lot of different jokes, and that is really fun, and doing it in front of an audience. So that's a very long way of saying I think they're all. I do think they're all weird.
Just a quick follow-up. After your concussion, how did you
Concussions.
feel when your dad took you to the vet?
Oh, well, I don't know if I was definitely in between concussions at that point, because I remember the vet. But after the vet, that just kind of seemed par for the course with my father.
So he didn't take you to the vet?
Oh yeah, he took the whole family.
No, I mean to be treated.
No, because the vet was just as expensive as the doctor. So we would never, he would never. In fact, it was way more expensive to get a pet groomed. So he would just throw the dog in the bath with us. My father's a monster. No. He has tried many times, definitely. And he's given us the drugs for it. And he's just got to get the doses. Yes, ma'am. I have planned my children's careers. Yes, I have. One of them will still play it, and the other one's going to work at home. No, my kid. I don't know what. I would love to plan my kids' careers because I would like my retirement to be super nice. But no, I don't know what they're going to be. They're definitely not interested in acting or performing. They don't care at all about what I do. The only way I can get them to come to my work is if I go, there's a raccoon. You come see a raccoon. They only came to Community a few times because I was like, today there is a hockey parade and a trampoline. So they would only come on those days. And then when I was growing up, they were like, all I wanted to do was go to Daddy's office. And so we would, but they could be less interested. And now, like yesterday on Mercer Island, where my family was there, and my 11-year-old just heckled me the whole time. He'd be like, oh, thanks for the money. And so my wife finally said, she's like, you don't need to stay. And he was like, great. And he walked out. So, that really happened. Like that dude. He really was heckling me. And then my 8-year-old, if someone comes up to me and says something like, oh, I'm a big fan, then they leave, he will go, ooh, is that one of your fans? Do they like your work? Do they like what you do? And I was like, yes, they do. Ooh, and I was like, you benefit from it. And he's like, ooh, okay. Sure do. So yes, you can see I've turned their monsters, and they're going to be horrible people. Yeah, they're definitely not going to be entertainment. I don't know what they're going to do. Yes, ma'am.
What's your favorite project that you ever
Whoa, you sound like a man. How did you throw your voice like that? Now, hold on, man. This lovely lady is going to talk for a second. Then we're going to get to you. But thank you for your boldness. So. I majored in history at the University of Washington only because I do like history because it was the only subject that I could actually learn because it was all lectures, and I'm super dyslexic, and instead of learning anything else, I just cheated my way through high school and college. I got on the football team. I was like, oh, what a great fringe benefit. I know all the answers now because they had all the tests. It was great. So kids, if you want to make it, be successful, just cheat. I did cheat a ton because I really could not read. I took a math class in college that was worth 0 credits. It was a high school math. It was to get into college, so you could take it, and I was flunking that. And the teacher said, are you going to take any math in college? And I was like, absolutely not. And he was like, great, I'll pass you, but don't ever take math. I'm like, I don't want it, I hate it. And so history had the fewest number of credits, and I could listen to the lectures and absorb it all that way. And that's how I got out of there. And so after college, I opened up the history shop. I made a lot of money. Oh, yes, he's very good. He's bald and short and very good at what he does. Yes. I didn't say you could have a second. But go ahead this one. They did. Now, in the pilot of The Great Indoors, Thursdays after the Big Bang Theory on CBS, there was a bear on set, and my character held the bear while giving a speech about how everyone can work together. And the problem, here's the thing with bears, I don't know if you know this, but if you pick up a bear, it believes it's going to die. I'm not kidding, so do kids. If you pick them up, they believe they're going to be thrown down. And so, sleepy like bear, you have a very finite number of minutes before it realizes, oh, I'm going to die, and then it starts trying to bite you. So, it did bite me, and hard, and it went through 3 layers and still grows skin. Yes, this is great. We're good to animals. But then I dropped the bear on its head at that point, and then nobody seemed, the trainers, everyone, the trainers were like, it's fine. They fall out of trees 30 feet on their heads. They're fine. And the bear was like, and the bear now is, because that was April, is now large enough to kill many people in this room. But so when I gave the speech, I'd start talking and I'd be like, guys, if we could just learn how to work together, and then the bear would start nipping at me, and they edited it very well because I was just kind of going. And so the thing about working with millennials, and as the thing was trying to bite my neck. So if you watch it, I keep the thing away from my neck, and at one point, they didn't use the tick, I kind of clamped down on the bear's head so it wouldn't bite me in the neck, and then its claws were just going. But on the ground, the bear couldn't be cooler. It played with my kids, they wrestled with it, it was very happy on the ground. What? You don't want to pick, or a pig, don't pick up pigs because they believe they'll be thrown down. So this is also in the book about what animals you can pick up. There's a lot, you'd be surprised at the number you can't. But it's weird how dogs and cats, you don't even think about it, but yeah, then it makes sense. Anyway, the more you know. Sir.
What was your favorite project that you worked on?
Ever?
Yeah.
Other than today. I don't really, it's all over the map. I'm very lucky in that I have this, that I've been able to do, like I got to work with Steve Martin, and And that was one of the coolest things. I got to work around the news, and that was one of the best things I've ever done. And that I've been able to be involved. Like doing the White House Correspondents' Dinner was absolutely surreal. And there's a great, in the book I talk about it and about how my youngest son was deathly, not deathly, but he was wildly ill right before we met the president. And if you see the picture, we turned his head away so he would not vomit the president because he had just been vomiting. We are in this tiny room in the Hinckley Hilton Hotel, as they call it, because that's where Reagan got shot. And but they call it the Hinckley Hilton, which I was like, maybe rename this. And while you're in this tiny room and you're about to meet the president, and there's all these other celebrities, and my son began to vomit badly. And then Andrew Luck and Eric Stonestreet from Modern Family were helping pick it up, which was very nice of them. And Zoe Deschanel pitched in. And then my mother-in-law walked up to me and just looked at me and went, "My purse is gone." And I thought, that seems impossible. This is the most secure room on the planet right now. I don't think, I don't know, the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world has stolen it. Because he was in that room as well. And what happened was that she just kind of left her purse unattended, and the Secret Service, doing their job, moved it. But instead of helping with her sick grandson, she was like, "My purse. My lip liner. You know I have cracks in my upper lip. It seeps up. I need the liner." So yes, it all worked out. We didn't vomit on clothes. So yes, thank you for your question. Yes, let's see, ma'am, with the sunglasses. Why are you wearing sunglasses? You have an eye exam? Oh, you have chronic migraines. I'm a horrible person. I'm so sorry. I feel terrible. I hope you don't get one today. You might after this. We've been sitting forever. Oh, dyslexia has nothing to do with memorization. In fact, I think it helps with it. So, because I definitely read, when I'm reading, I pay a lot of attention to it. So that is completely different, as is speaking into, extemporaneously. So people are like, "But dyslexic, how are you able to talk in front of a group of people?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not the problem." And I did have a problem reading teleprompters for a very long time. When I first started the suit, it took me 4 hours to get through 20 minutes of jokes. So E was insanely patient. And they didn't realize they were actually making the show. So we had all time to go. So that, I would say that for me, memorization really isn't that much of a problem. But reading takes forever. That's why Audible.com is one of the best things that's ever happened. So when I read my own writing out loud, it took me 3 days to do the audiobook, which Lloyd and Brad were there, and as they say, it was the first time they had actually felt sympathy for me, which really put them off. They didn't know how to feel about it. But I became like Joe Walsh in the 70s, and ripping apart a hotel room. I was going to tear the sound booth apart, because I hear a lot. I had problems. Yeah, so it was no good. Yeah, so anyway, it all worked out, thank God. Yeah, but now I can do it, and you get over it. I mean, you say, still, if you watch me on Kelly Ripa this week, thank you, I helped host it. I screwed up the script almost every time I started talking. It sounded like we were drunk, because we were half drunk in the second show. Which I didn't realize, Hoda and Kathy Lee really were onto something. Just drink wine at 9 in the morning, and anybody can be on TV. Who's next? Yes, sir with the glasses.
What's your favorite episode of the meeting?
Favorite? That's very hard to say. I don't know. There's so many that I love doing. I love making the paintball. Of course, Dungeons and Dragons was so fun. The one that confused us all was the timelines one, because we couldn't remember where we were. I was like, which timeline is this? And then the director would go like, number 7, come on. And what? And I have favorite moments and favorites. But I don't know. I mean, I really love Chicken Fingers and the Goodfellas parody that was. That was that moment when they freeze on Abed and he goes, I knew it, all my life I wanted to be in a Goodfellas parody. And so, I mean, it's all of that. I enjoyed that process so much that it's hard, that's very difficult for me to say. I can tell you my favorite episode of Battlestar Galactica. Oh, no, I won't tell you that. I love that series too, one of my favorites. All right, how about this time? Sir, yes?
How did you in?
Just ask them both at once. To see who wins. I was going to ask that guy, but let's go with you, sir.
Sorry.
Adam Devine is here, everyone. Thank you.
How would you end the Jeff Winger storyline?
Oh, would I end it?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody dies. Hamlet, dude, just, yeah, poisoning, stabbings, yes, tragedy. All, yeah. I don't know. I would never, that was one thing with Dan, I was like, I would never dare to go like, I got an idea. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully we'll see. Hopefully, yeah, I don't know. I'm married to both, I don't know, Britta. I don't know. How about you, sir?
Yeah.
This poor man. Just start yelling. Just start saying it.
So, how's your relationship with Chevy Chase?
Oh, yeah, I talk about him a lot in the book. There's a guide on how to survive a Chevy Chase attack. There really is. And it's, you know, like Chev, we had a very good time. It was just the times when he was trying to fight me that weren't necessarily the most productive for working. Yes, he would try and attack me physically. And we would fight. But it wasn't always like swinging, but it was roughhousing to a point of this is uncomfortable for everyone in the room. And so I'm playing him in a movie for Netflix coming out next year, and so I called him and we talked about it. It's a movie about this guy named Doug Kenny who started the National Lampoon and wrote Animal House and wrote Caddyshack. But I am still friendly with Jeff, but he didn't want to be really at Community because Community was 1 million hours a week, and it's not necessarily what he wanted to do. I always talked about it. Like I was always asked about it by reporters. So, but you will learn a lot more about it in the book. So yes, I'm still friendly with him. But people always like, come on, he was difficult. So I'm like, yes, he was. Totally. And then everyone would back that. So, he was so funny on the show. If you watch him in the Dungeons and Dragons episode, he should have gotten 2 Emmys for that. He was so funny. Agrees. Yes, sir. I guess that guy right there. Yes, hang out.
All right, so in your new show, The Great Indoors, after the Big Bang Theory on
Thursdays. Yes. Thank you.
You make fun of millennials quite a bit.
See, this is the narrative that, yes, okay, your question, yes.
Did you guys do any focus group, or is there a fine line you have to walk to not offend, and you can be okay making fun?
No, screw those people. Somehow, now the show is known as the Millennial Killer, and that this is all the show is about, and it is definitely not. That's only 90%. No, it is not what the show is about. But somehow, what happened was at a thing called the Television Critics Association, which you guys don't need to know about because it's the most boring thing in the world. All the TV critics from every local to national newspaper or television station come to LA, and a room like this, they will interview television casts, and the casts just hope that they talk about them in their articles. It's a very antiquated thing that I don't think it doesn't affect ratings or anything, they're always very boring. And then we got very lucky because in this millennial reporter from Variety, which is the big entertainment kind of industry magazine down there, that Hollywood Reporter, she went crazy. And she was like, is this show just about making fun of millennials? Because I am pissed. And it was like, all you're doing is portraying us as wimps and sensitive. And then our showrunner said, so let me get this straight, you're offended at millennials being portrayed as overly sensitive. And that made her even mad. another millennial reporter joined in, and I screamed. I was like, this is the greatest thing that could happen for the show right now. And Deadline Hollywood said, war broke out. And it was such a silly, silly war, and it did generate this weird narrative that we are going after millennials. And on my Twitter feed, people are like, these millennial jokes, they're old. And I was like, actually, they're pretty new. It's really a comedy about 3 generations trying to work with each other in a workplace. And that's real. I mean, Stephen Fry is 60, and I'm 44, so it's about 3 generations. It's not just let's get them. There happens to be more millennials, but it really is not a show. Everyone is making fun of everybody. So do we have to be sensitive? I would say definitely not. The only thing we have to be sensitive about, which we found out on last Tuesday when we taped the show, I crawled out of the scene and my pants kind of came down and my butt crack was exposed. And CBS was like, no, that doesn't happen. Men do not have butt cracks. That was like their big, like, they cannot show that. Are you out of your minds? And I was like, have you seen Two Broke Girls? Their jokes make me blush. So that's really what we have to worry about. So as you'll see, yes, my character absolutely goes after the millennials and the old dude, and vice versa all over the place. So, but the fact that people are even talking about the show is good in this way. But if you look at my Twitter feed, people are like, screw you. Screw you. Yes, ma'am. Dream project, and who would I want to work with? All right, I would like to be president of the world. Thank you. I don't know. I mean, let's see. I would like to work with Samuel L. Jackson. He is one of my favorite actors of all time, and I'd like to do Django Unchained 2 when we are doing like a road trip. But he's one of my favorite actors of all time. So, and I'd like to work with like John Cleese. That would be great. I got to work with Eric Idle on The Last Soup, which was very surreal, and yeah, that's one guy thought, and which is one of the reasons the show's gone. I was in the sketch with him just staring at it. I was like, I cannot believe I am looking at him right now. But believe me, people paying me to do this there's already gravy. I've been gravy for a long time, and really good thick gravy with lots of meat in it. So I still can't believe my good fortune that I have not been. I always think that the bad acting police are going to come and take me away and tell me it's time to get a job. So thank God that hasn't happened. So I don't know. I will see. There's all sorts of people I'd like to work with, but it's one of those things where I was offered some role in a movie where they're like, yeah, so your character, I can't even say what was happening, but it was something very compromising physically, and it happened a number of times. I'm like, that's softcore, I can't do that. And so I turned that, the show didn't go. Yes, so ma'am. Favorite sitcoms of all time? I really love The Honeymooners, and I have all the DVDs to The Honeymooners, and if you ever want to see Masters at Work, Art Carney and Jackie Gleason and Andre Meadows going for it on live television with no way to stop them and them screwing up, and you can see Jackie Gleason a couple times forget all his lines, and he just walks around in circles as Andre Meadows just heckles him. You will see, and it's still funny from the 40s and 50s, and so that's one of my all-time favorites. Of course, Cheers and Seinfeld are kind of the one that I've seen every episode, and I have so many episodes of The Simpsons. It's one of my all-time. It was like that show was speaking to me. And then growing up, I could, as a kid, couldn't get enough of Sanford and Son and Flipper. So Flipper is not a sitcom, but for whatever reason, in my growing up, I was like, I need more Red Fox and more mammals that swim. But I remember Red Fox calling his son dummy throughout that show, and I just thought it was like the funniest thing. It was like, hey dummy, and I just thought that's the funniest joke. It's so simple. More recently, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, but that was some years ago now. But I think the show on BBC right now called Uncle is insanely funny. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's on BBC America right now. It's really great. So I don't watch that much TV anymore because I really don't have time or interest. So no, I still haven't watched Atlanta, and I still haven't watched Love, and I know people in those shows, and I feel bad for them. Thank you, sir. You got a question? Chapter 11, yes. Soon. 6 months from now. Uh-huh. Yep. Well, see, this is what I'm talking about. Actors should not be giving out advice. Definitely not world advice. First, because I think some actors think they should be giving it. And again, if 90% of people are going to prison, then hey, we're all going to be together. It'll be great. Yes, sir. In the back.
Loved your work in Spider-Man 2.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I'm known for. I can't believe Sam Raimi didn't have a spin-off for me, like Black Panther or the last Civil War Avengers. So it's very confusing that Mr. Jax, the bank manager, because everyone was like, there's still so much more story to tell.
Favorite clip or joke from the suit?
Ever?
Well, something up in the Pantheon?
Well, boy, I mean, this is, I think, pretty obvious, but when we saw the spaghetti cat clip, it was very confusing and perplexing, and still is it's a phenomenon that has never stopped. There was a morning news, like kind of a Kelly Ripa show that is no longer, but at one point they just cut away to a cat eating spaghetti at a high chair, and it didn't make any sense, and there was no reason to cut away to it. The sound dropped out, and then it came back. It was not addressed. We decided on the soup it could be considered just art. It made no sense at all. And so yeah, that was one of my favorites. When we gave Tila Tequila, now this is 10 years ago, we gave her Entertainer of the Year, and I wore a hazmat suit and handed it to her with tongs. And she was okay with it. And I was like, that seems like a normal, yes. But I got to tell some really great jokes that I did not write, so I was very happy to tell them and proud to tell them. So there's a couple that are pretty obscene that I'm not going to repeat here. There's one that comes to mind that I'll tell you afterwards. In the back. 12 more questions, everybody. Captain America, do you have a question? You're not even sitting. Thank you for standing. Oh, the X-Files was a very wonderful and strange experience. A strange only being I could not believe I was doing it. I could not believe I was looking at Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny and calling them Mulder and Scully. I felt like I had bid on a silent auction item and it said, you get to be in the X-Files, and I had written my name last and bid the most money, and I could not believe I was there. And I was laughing most of the time. I was like, it's Chris Gardner right here. Yeah, look at you. And there's that. I could not believe it. So because I had been such a fan to a point where I began asking David Duchovny about an episode, and he listened to the question, and he was just like, oh, you're a fan, huh? And I was like, yes. And he was like, and walked away laughing. So I couldn't be, it was so weird. And then my character, he puts his shoulder on Scully's, he puts his hand on Scully's shoulder. I'm like, now I'm coming on to Gillian Anderson. What kind of a world do we live in? This is all wonderful. So, and I got to be in a helicopter in a couple of shots, and so I wore an adult diaper the whole time. Thrill. And if they do it again, I pray to God that CBS gives me permission to do it, because I would do it for free, but I still like to be paid. Yes, ma'am on the, well, you got three, ma'am on the end with the glasses.
Going back to a child that I heard you guys to St. Monica.
Where did you hear that? Oh, right. So her weirdo brother came to her signings, and they all wear t-shirts saying it's a McHale thing. And yeah, it's weird. It's not, yeah. So they're all McHales, and we're part of a plan. Yes, I went to St. Monica's Catholic school on Mercer Island. You're what? The Catholic upbringing? It made me more Catholic. Definitely. It was great. I really did. I know people always talk about their bad experience with Catholic school. I loved it. So I had very good teachers, and I learned that you can wear a school uniform without washing it once. And the girls still like, yeah. So you guys said yes, so you guys are next year. So yes, well, you're pointing to the lady, so yeah.
If you could be in any show or movie that already exists, what would it be?
That already exists, that through time?
Yeah, like anytime.
I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? What do you want to be in?
I mean, if you
I'm just going to go in To Catch a Predator. And then seems like, yeah, it'll be fun. It's like, whoa, it's you. So I don't know. It would be weird to be inserted into some show like The Wire or something. Be like, hi. So yeah, I'd like to be a true detective. You know, like one of the corpses. Just smiling. I don't know. It's a good question. It seems like impossible to be inserted because the show would whatever show you love so much, and all of a sudden you're in it, would seem like you're ruining it. That's a good question. So yes, Catch a Predator, or maybe being Bobby Brown. I think I've gone way over time, right? I know there's kids listening to Halloween stories right now going, why is the white man still alive? He's scary. I'd like to hear about the great pop. So I'm going to sign all your books. I can't wait. And hopefully you all bought them. And thank you for buying them. And thanks for everybody coming to this mall. I really appreciate it on a Sunday.
It's so funny. It's such a good book.
Lots of samurai swords and watermelons.
Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, everybody.